asked y'all here this morning because as a result of the tragic incident that happened on yesterday that resulted in the death of Mr. Blue, I was concerned about some of the information that was out there and some interpretations of that information as it relates to the notification and the participation of the Jackson Police Department in the pursuit that started in Clinton, Mississippi and was conducted by the Clinton Police Department. I was really troubled by a report that I saw on WJTV at 10 o'clock last night, which detailed where the reporter claims that a Jackson Police Department car that was seen in the video actually participated in the chase. I really found it alarming from a common sense standpoint, if no other standpoint. The JPD car that's depicted in the video is actually seen 2 times. It's not 2 different cars, it's the same car. The chase that was conducted by the Clinton Police Department was going in one direction. The Jackson Police Department car was going in the other direction. Now, I've been in the police business for 28 years. I've even participated in some chases when I was a patrol officer, but I've never seen an officer participate in a chase when he was going in the opposite direction. It defies common sense. So, in my estimation, that particular report that was on the 10 o'clock news of WJTV last night was 100% erroneous. Yesterday also, there seemed to be differences of opinion about whether or not the Clinton Police Department contacted the Jackson Police Department as it relates to this chase. I had disseminated to you basically what it is a timeline that we've got from our dispatch center as it relates to calls. Just to refresh everybody's memory, I said yesterday that the Clinton Police Department did not notify us until after the chase, which is still correct. What you see is at 23:42 hours, which is about 11:42, a Jackson police officer, Timothy Guys, actually saw this chase going through West Jackson. Once he saw it, he called our dispatch center and asked them to make an inquiry to Clinton as to what was going on. No call from Clinton. The call came from our dispatch center to Clinton. As you see, there was a second call that was made at 23:44. Again, that call originated from the Jackson Police Department Dispatch Center to the Clinton Police Department Dispatch Center. Again, no notification for us from Clinton, but an inquiry made to Clinton from our dispatch center. You can skip down to 23:51. You'll see where the Clinton Police Department called the Jackson Police Department to advise us of an accident, and this was after the crash occurred. Oh, I'm sorry. Before that, 23:46 hours shows where our dispatcher called Clinton and asked for a vehicle description. So again, it's just like I stated yesterday. There was no notification to us from Clinton until after the chase occurred. There were inquiries from our dispatch center to the Clinton Police Department Dispatch Center to ask about the chase that the officer and officers actually saw. I know that most of y'all have already looked at this video. If you feel it's necessary, we can go through it again. But the points that I'm about to make, basically, you can match up my commentary with the video, or we can review the video again, whatever it is that makes you comfortable. I believe it's the raw video that the Clinton Police Department put out yesterday. We talked to one of the officer that was actually driving the vehicle that's seen in the video. And we asked him, he was on Thomas Ketchens, close to Lindsley Drive. He saw the chase coming toward him. The chase had drifted over into oncoming traffic. In other words, the lane he was occupying. He turned his blue lights on in hopes that they would see him as a safety precaution to try not to get run over by this thing. That officer was actually assigned to a burglary suppression detail that we have going in Precinct 2. So the officer was actually just riding in the area, doing his job, patrolling. The same officer came across the chase again once it had circled around through parts of Jackson. And again, on the video, you see him going in the opposite direction from the chase. So again, I ask, how could he be participating in a chase when he's going in one direction and the chase is going in the opposite direction? Also, there were claims made by officials in Clinton that the Jackson Police Department had participated by, according to what they said, blocking intersections. And this claim was supposed to be proven by the videotape. If you review the videotape, you cannot see any Jackson police officers blocking any intersections. The one car that's seen in the video is moving. So again, we have a claim made by officials in Clinton that the Jackson Police Department participated in this chase, and these claims were supposed to be verified by the video. It's our position that none of these claims are verified by the video, and it's also our position that by watching the video, that the report that WJTV made last night on their 10 o'clock news appears to be absolutely erroneous. We have another announcement that we will make shortly, but before we move to that, I was wanting to know, is there any questions that we need to talk about this portion of what we said?
I have a question.
Yes.
You said that the Clinton Police Department contacted you after the chase had occurred. Did that mean after the chase began or after it ended?
No, what I said was the Clinton Police Department actually reached out to us after the crash occurred.
After the crash occurred?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so they did not, just so everybody's clear, the Clinton Police Department did not reach out to you until the vehicle had crashed.
No.
Is that correct?
The initial calls came from our dispatch center to Clinton
Right.
because our officers had actually spotted the chase going through West Jackson.
Yes, sir.
Chief, what was Clinton saying to you whenever y'all were reaching out to them those 2 times? Did they not say anything, or did they just ignore it?
Now, I don't have it wrote down, but the best of my recollection is the first time we called, they said that they were chasing some shoplifting suspects. Is that in the write-up? Look at the second bullet point, Mallory. That's what they said that the first time
Yes,
was a response.
it's in there. It's on the document.
It's actually in the document.
Did they ever ask for help whatsoever?
No.
No.
It was just, we're coming, this is what's going on.
No, they didn't necessarily say we're coming, but when they called the dispatcher, when our dispatcher called over there, it was after our officer in the field actually saw them. which would obviously indicate that they were well into Jackson before any type of dialogue took place between our department and theirs. There was no call ahead that we're coming. There was no call ahead asking for assistance. None of those things actually occurred.
Would you have rathered that? Is that what you would rather whenever officers are coming from Pearl, Clinton, Madison? Is that something that you've discussed with other chiefs and other jurisdictions as to how this is what you would prefer if they're coming into Jackson?
Quite frankly, that's somewhat inconsequential. And the reason why I say that is, if pursuits that are conducted by outside agencies into Jackson do not fit into the guidelines of our pursuit policy, we're not going to participate anyway. And we made that very clear. We have no intention of violating our own policies. So my explanation about this is basically to clear up where I consider to be misinformation that's been disseminated to the public by officials in Clinton through the media. Anybody else have any questions about this? Yes, ma'am.
Is there anywhere that we can see the pursuit policy? Do you have like your standards and?
Yeah, we've got a copy of the
Can we-
pursuit policy. We'll let's talk about that once we're done.
Okay.
All
So
right.
what about the audio from dispatch? Are y'all
We
gonna
got
release the
a
audio?
copy for it
Okay.
of it that you can take with
So
you.
are you frustrated with Clinton PD, or what is your response to just how they're handling the situation and what you say happened?
I think frustrated is probably not necessarily the right word. What I am is disappointed about misinformation that's been disseminated by supposedly responsible people in an effort to draw us into a controversy that we did not participate in. I'm disappointed when the facts do not get out. Now, what their motivation for doing that is, I have no idea. You would probably have to ask them. But it's very important that the truth be told, and that's what we are here for today. And also, just to be quite honest with you, the video pretty much speaks for itself. I don't know how anybody can look at that video with the pursuit going one way and the officers that are seen from the Jackson Police Department in that video going the exact opposite, and draw the conclusion that we were, one, blocking off streets, two, actively participating in the video. It's beyond my comprehension. It reminds me, quite frankly, and I don't mean to be flip, but it reminds me of a punchline in an old joke that I used to tell. Who are you going to believe, me or your lying eyes?
Chief Vance, have you talked to Clinton's interim chief since all of this happened yesterday? Have you been in communication with him to discuss getting his facts straight as well?
No,
Why not?
because it's his police department that came into our city on a chase that we did not condone, nor did we participate in. Appears to me that as no more than a courtesy, if anybody should reach out to anybody, it should be him calling me. If my officers were going into his jurisdiction, I guarantee you, courtesy would be at the top of my list. And I have not been shown any such courtesy.
He hasn't called you?
Have not talked to him, don't know him, never met him.
Okay, last question.
So where do we go from here?
Oh,
Let me say this. I did talk with Mayor Fisher, he called me, okay, but I have not talked with the chief.
What was that like, that conversation?
Well, I would rather just leave the conversation between he and I.
Yeah.
But he and I did talk, just for accuracy, so that I can make it clear that somebody from over there did call me, it just was not the chief.
I'm sorry, I have to ask these
It's
questions.
no problems, I don't have a problem. I'm ready to answer them.
So
That's why I called you up here.
Where do you go from here? What is your mentality now? Do you feel like police pursuit should just completely end, or what's your take on it?
Well, my take today is no different than it's been for months when these issues first started to come up. When police participate in pursuits, just about everybody that I know in law enforcement pretty much agrees that they are unpredictable and they are dangerous. We've asked that outside agencies do not conduct those type chases in the city of Jackson when you're seeking misdemeanor suspects and some property criminals. We value life over property. This is a safety issue. I don't want to see anybody get hurt, maimed, or killed anywhere in the metro area. But I'm the chief of the Jackson Police Department. I don't have much say over what goes on outside the city limits of Jackson. But we've asked that they are not conducted here. Quite frankly, they're dangerous. And again, we got a very graphic reminder of just how unpredictable, and dangerous and deadly that they can be night before last. Moving forward, it appears to me to be somewhat misguided in some ways when I get asked, what do you think we should do? I've expressed myself about what we should do numerous times. But again, it's not our agency that's perpetrating these chases. I think that particular question needs to be asked of those individuals who are in charge of the police departments that do. What we plan on doing is following our policy and chasing people who we believe that if we do not capture them, it's a greater danger to the public. That's the litmus test that we give ourselves all the time. One last point. There are other ways to capture criminals besides hot pursuit. We arrest felons on a daily basis. So while the idea seems to be out there, seems to be continued to be perpetrated that like if you don't catch this person in the midst of this pursuit, that they get away forever. That's absolutely erroneous. That is not your only opportunity to arrest somebody. So what we hope is that people realize that, use other means to identify suspects and arrest them accordingly. The notion is that, well, if you get to Jackson, it's a safe haven for criminals. What a ridiculous statement. Absolutely ridiculous. Again, you would have to be very simple-minded to believe that the only way to capture a criminal is through hot pursuit. And you're talking about, in most of these cases that we've had an issue with, misdemeanor crimes such as shoplifting, which is what was described to us as being the cause for the chase night before last.
Chief, you said you
Yes.
haven't talked with the interim in Clinton, but do you think that may be the issue with these other chiefs, is that there is a lack of communication, that they don't understand your pursuit policy, and maybe meeting with other chiefs from Rankin, Madison, whatever, that may help the situation to let them know, look, we're only going to pursue during A, B, and C.
Quite frankly, Mallory, I believe there is no misunderstanding. I believe as many of these things that we've gone through by now, everybody knows what the other's position is. Mm-hmm. It's just a matter of whether or not anybody is going to change their position. You know, you've been around for a while. We've been talking about these things for months, right? Everybody's pretty clear on what everybody else is going to do. I saw the chief from Clinton on TV last night. He said, if you run, we're gonna chase you. I don't know how much more clear he can make himself. Nor did he distinguish between misdemeanors, property crimes, dangerous felons. I saw him say, if you run, we're gonna chase you. So I think he made himself very clear, as well as other individuals that made themselves clear. I don't think there's any confusion about what anybody's position is.
Would you have just rathered a courtesy call?
Well, again, what I would rather is that this chase had not come into the city of Jackson at all. That's what I would have if I had my own preference. A courtesy call is good. We do appreciate that, and they are, that's a professional way to do things. But my preference is that we don't have these chases at all.
They also mentioned too, Chief, about since the chase, since it ended in Jackson, that y'all be handling it. I mean, what your take on that?
Well, actually, that part's true. We had a crime scene out there, and in fact, that's going to be the second thing that we're going to talk about once we get done with these questions, is some of our findings as it relates to this crime scene, because it was a criminal investigation. It is a criminal investigation that we've conducted into that, and we've gotten some results that we're ready to talk to the media about as soon as we clear these questions up.
One more question.
All right.
How close is this car come to Geis from hitting him?
I'm sorry.
On this call on Geis last night. I mean, night before when he was patrolling.
You know, both of those vehicles were moving. I'm not certain whether he was able to even estimate any type of distance. When we talked to him, he gave us the impression that he was just trying to get out of the way.
Can you not legally stop the other jurisdictions? Can you not legally stop Clinton, Brandon, whatever, from coming into Jackson pursuing?
The Attorney General said we can.
But I assumed it would be their case because in the pursuit, I mean, their jurisdiction follows them. So that's what I assumed it would end up being their case no matter where they stopped them.
Well, keep in mind, the death actually occurred in Jackson,
Okay.
and that's what
That
makes
sense
it our
then.
case. Yeah. Anybody else about this part of what we're talking about before I bring Commander Jones up?
How many serious deaths and injuries? Can y'all get some totals, like serious deaths and injuries? I know some of them started like in the 90s where people were chasing from jurisdictions. Person got killed right downtown before.
Yeah, I guess we can, James, but you know, that type of information is really easily accessible.
Yeah.
I've typed in stuff on my computer just to kind of look at what's going on around the country. So I would say anybody that's interested in it is pretty easy to access. I think, I'm not sure which governing authority keeps it, but I think, I believe the federal government keeps some stats on it.
The Justice Department.
Is it the Justice Department? Yeah. So I'm sure it's probably easily accessible. Anybody else got any questions about this before I bring Commander Jones in? Y'all good? All right, now we're going to talk about the criminal investigation, and I'm going to bring Commander Tyree Jones up to brief y'all about what we've come up with as far as that's concerned.
Good morning. Based on the investigation that was being conducted by the accident investigations, we've issued a warrant for Donald Johnson for the charges of second-degree murder. He is currently still hospitalized at University of Mississippi Medical Center. Once he is released, he will come to our jurisdiction and he will face these charges. Under state law and the statute, we were able to pursue these charges on this individual based on his participation that led to the death of Lonnie Blue Jr. Therefore, we will be proceeding with those charges at this time. His behavior, his unwilling to stop a vehicle unwilling to stop a vehicle and initiating a police pursuit is what brought us to these charges at this particular time. He had ample amount of time and several opportunities to stop his vehicle, at which he refused to do. His criminal activity led to the death of the individual, which he's being charged. So that's where we are at this particular point with the criminal investigation.
Anybody got any questions? All right, we done. Thank y'all.
so much.